everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today I will be updating my Pan Those Eyeshadow Palette series. This is the first update in this project for this year, and it is a little bit behind schedule. So there's going to be more progress this month than there would be in a normal month, and there will be a little less progress this next update just because I'm going to try to get back onto schedule. I had a couple of life things happen and just got behind in my filming, but I wanted to go ahead and get this updated for you guys so that you could follow along with me. This is a hybrid project between Pan Those Eyeshadows and Pan That Palette. As always, I have the creators of those projects linked down below if you haven't seen them, but they are my two favorite projects to watch, and so I decided last year to kind of mix the two of them together and use them as a way to work through my eyeshadow palettes. I do this by working through 3 palettes at a time with a quintet each month. I do want to update you real quick on a couple of changes I've made to my rules. Normally, my rule is kind of have a shade in the quintet until I hit goal, whether that's emptying it or hitting pan on it or a usage goal. But in using them this past month, I think I've decided that I want to go ahead and just put a flat 50 use threshold on all of them, where if I hit the 50 uses on each shade, I can roll it out of my quintet if I would like to roll something else in. It'll probably depend on how far I'm making it, like how much progress I'm making on each shade, determining whether or not I decide to roll it out. But I've just kind of thought with most of these shades, my ultimate goal is to empty them, and that's going to take a really long time with most of them. So by giving myself this 50 use threshold, I can keep rolling through shades in my quintet because, let's be honest, this project isn't as fun if I'm not rolling shades in and out. It's not as fun for me, and it's not as fun for you guys. I love seeing the quintet change for myself. It makes it more exciting for me, and I know that it makes it more exciting for you guys because I love seeing people roll shades in and out and getting new quintets. So yeah, I've just decided that there's a 50 use threshold. If I decide I want to roll it out at that point, I can. Or if it's a shade that doesn't have pan on it yet, even if my ultimate goal is to empty it, once I hit pan, I will roll that shade out. And that way I can still be using those shades, but I'll be updating my quintet more regularly and focusing in on different shades throughout the year. That way I'm not just stuck on shades until I empty them. As I said, I am a little behind schedule on my filming. So I'm filming today on February 12th. Normally I would film like the first Saturday of the month if I could, but I wasn't able to last week. So I do have more progress than normal, but I will go ahead and put up the quintet so you guys can see what I was working on last month. In my quintet, I had the shade Seeking from my Marc Jacobs Glambition palette. I had the shade Isolde 2 from my NARS Atomic Blonde palette. And then for my Huda Beauty Desert Dusk palette, I have Nerfertiti, Angelic, and Twilight. So let's go ahead and get into this update. First up is my Glambition palette, so I will go ahead and show you what this was looking like last month. And this is what it's looking like this month. Please excuse how dirty this palette is. These shades are experiencing a lot of kickback, and I don't know if that's because they're just getting older or if it's actually just the formula. But as you can see, I've made some good progress on it. It's not anything too amazing. Again, Seeking is my shade in the quintet right now, and the goal is obviously to empty it, but you can see pretty well, I think, that this side right here is getting some, it's thinning out pretty well, which I have been focusing on this side of it. I want to go ahead and I did the same thing with the Infamous shade, where I kind of cleared out this little side over here, and I'm cleaning off the palette as I'm rubbing against it. But yeah, I want to try to do the same thing on this one, kind of working in the same like U shape around the circular pan. I did use this shade 36 times, which means I used this shade 36 times because I use these two in combination together. I always use them together. This one is a little too deep of a shade for me, just naturally. It's a little too, I think it's got a pretty neutral undertone on it, but it kind of cuts a little cool. And I find that it looks a little heavy when I put it in my crease alone. So I like to pair it with Infamous, and that warms it up just enough to make it look a lot softer. So I typically put a decent amount of Seeking and then just kind of dip into Infamous, and that works really, really well for me. So I have used both of these 36 times. You can see a little bit of progress in She Was, not as much as normal. In the past I was using it a ton because I was using it in the inner corner. And while I'm still doing that sometimes, I find that every now and then it doesn't work with eye looks. Like today I didn't use it in my eye look because it was too golden and this is too cool of a tone. So when I'm doing a more cool toned look, I use this one, but otherwise I just use my highlighter. I have not made like any progress on Known For. I don't think I even used Known For one time this last month. I'm just focusing on some other shades, but then the most I did use a few times, and you can see a tiny bit of progress. I can see a little bit of progress. I don't think you can see it in pictures because it's so minimal. And then I've made a good amount of progress on Over the Top. I have been using this almost every single day in the outer corner. I think, let's see, I did use it a total of 29 times this last month. So that's a lot of uses, and I've been using a pretty dense brush. So I've gotten a really good dip in it. You can tell there's like, I'm pretty close to pan on this one. So that's kind of nice. There's obviously still a ton of product around that dip, but I'll probably hit pan on that one pretty soon. I've been really enjoying using that, and I'm really thankful that I'm gonna be hitting pan soon on it. So yeah, I did use this 36 times, which puts me pretty close to the 50 use threshold. I don't think that I'll stop using this one at 50 uses just because this is a shade that I can use up pretty quickly. But we'll see. Maybe I'll decide, you know what, I'm going to be using it anyways. I'd like to roll it out at that 50 use threshold. We'll just kind of see where we're at next month. Next up is my NARS Atomic Blonde palette. So I will go ahead and show you what this was looking like last month. And here is what it's looking like this month. I am trying to cover up that highlighter in there because it is a part of my project pan. So I want to give you guys, I don't want to give you guys a spoiler on it. So I am going to try to keep that covered. I know it's kind of hard to see in this palette. But yeah, so this is where we're at. Also, this one is pretty dirty too, so my apologies there. But Isolde 2 is the shade that was in my quintet. I will remind you that these guys are really deep pans. These are just insane. Like, they're really firmly packed and they're really deep. So these are gonna take me forever. I do wanna empty this ultimately, but I have a feeling that this is gonna take me forever to do so. Like, even if I use this consistently throughout this year, there's no way I'm gonna get it used up. I am gonna close this guy because it's really hard to show you progress through this. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put up the picture of what it's looking like this month so you can see it while I'm talking about it. For the ease of discussing it, I will go from the lightest shade to the darkest shade on my progress in this palette. Again, you can't really see a ton of progress just because there's such densely packed shades, but I do want to kind of give you an update on them all. So the first shade in the palette is Icon, and I did use that 13 times this last month. I think you can see a tiny bit of a difference, but nothing too crazy. And then the next shade is the shade in my quintet, which is Isolde 2, and that one I used 18 times. I can definitely see a difference in that one. Again, nothing too crazy of a difference, but it is, you can see there's a dip, a pretty good dip forming. Next to that is the shade Kink. And that one I used just 4 times, but I really like this shade. It is a beautiful, beautiful glittery shade, and just, it's good. It's great on its own. It's great on top of things. I really love it. And then the next one is Galapagos, which I only used once because I'm focusing on Over the Top from Glambition over this one. But as a reminder, I am just planning to use Isolde 50 times with this one because these shades are they're gonna take forever to hit pan on. So my goal is to rotate through them just at 50 uses a time regardless. So I will roll out Isolde 2 once I hit the 50 uses. Now, a little update on this palette, just because I don't know, it's been so long since I've used it regularly that I kind of want to give a little updated review on it. I love this palette. I love, 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 love this palette. If it were a permanent palette, I would probably repurchase it, because even though the bronzer in this was a little bit deep for me, I love the highlighter and I love all of the eyeshadow shades. I think NARS may have my favorite formula of the formulas that I own. Their shadows, I mean, this palette is from 2018 and it's still just as good as the day I bought it. All the shadows are gorgeous. They are buttery. They are so pigmented and they're beautiful. So I really love the NARS shadows. I will definitely get another NARS palette one day, like once this is gone. And once I've used up a lot of the palettes in my collection, I will get another NARS palette for sure. All right, so the final palette in my collection is the Huda Beauty Desert Dusk, and I will show you what it was looking like last month. And here is what it is looking like this month. So I think you can see some pretty good progress on it. Nothing too crazy. Obviously the biggest difference is in this shade here, Desert Sand. I have been using this almost every single day to set my eye primer. And so the pan has expanded amazingly. Like, this is why I don't put creams in my project, in my quintet. I'm gonna use them on their own. Like this shade this shade in particular is a little deep for my skin tone, but it works fine enough. And so like I can use this every single day. So I blow through them. So I don't want to put them in my quintet because I'm going to be using them anyways. So I did get a lot of use on that one. However, the shades in my quintet are these three here. So we will give them a little bit more focus because most of the palette I haven't really been using that much. And I'm not gonna go through every single shade to tell you exactly what I've used through this month because it's very minimal. I've only dipped into a few shades here and there. So we're just gonna focus on these three here. The first shade in my quintet is Nerfertiti, which I did use a total of 16 times this last month. You can kind of see there's a little bit of hard pan going on in there, and that's because I'm spraying my brush and then dipping it back in. So that's on me. Like it's not the shade's fault, but I have been really enjoying doing that, wetting the shade. It's giving amazing payoff, beautiful sparkle. I really love this shade. Like I said, the shades that do not have pan yet, I am just looking to hit pan on and then I will roll a shade in its place. Though ultimately I want to empty as much of this palette as possible. The next shade in the quintet is Angelic, and that one I only used 8 times. I do actually have that on the lid today mixed with Nerfertiti, and I am really loving that. So I actually have layered Amber, then Angelic, then Nerfertiti on my lid today. And I love this combo. Like this is my favorite combo that I've discovered for Angelic. I've tried it a few different ways. This is my favorite way to use it. So I will probably be doing this look many times over the next few months. But that is something I've discovered about this palette is that it's a layering palette. Like this is not for the average consumer who wants to just do like a one and done shade. This is not that palette. If you want to do that, this is not the palette for you. However, if you like layering shades, if you like doing more creative looks, if you enjoy the process of that, of coming up with like your own combinations, this is a fantastic palette for that. It's gorgeous. I really love the palette, but it is definitely more of a like high maintenance palette. So if you are into simple eye looks where you can just pick up a shadow and go, this is not the palette for you. If you like to be creative with your eyeshadows, this is a great one. So I am just looking to hit pan and Angelic. It's gonna take me a while because it's pretty full, but I can see a dip forming in there, so I'm pretty happy with that. And then the final shade in my quintet is Twilight. I used this one 8 times as well. You can see that the pan is expanding. I already had pan in it before I rolled it in. And so I don't think this is gonna make it to 50 uses. I think this one I'm actually gonna have to, like, I will actually finish up before I hit 50 uses on it because 8 uses has gotten me this far. And yeah, I don't know. I don't think this one's going to make it to 50. I think probably maybe 40 uses before it's all gone. But this one, this is probably my favorite shade in the palette. I love this shade. And I find so many different ways to use it. And I love it. Yeah, after 8 uses, you can see some good progress on it. I do think this will be in the project a while because I try not to use it like constantly, but it is making some good progress. So hopefully I'll have it used up in the next 4 or 5 months, but yeah, I think this one will be in the project for a little while. All right, so obviously none of the shades are getting rolled out. We're at the very beginning of this project, and as I said, I have a lot of big goals for this year's project. Those are some pretty hefty palettes as far as like what I'm aiming to get, and even with the 50 use threshold, it's gonna take me a while to get through those shades. I do think I'll hit the 50 use threshold on Seeking next month. Like, I don't see any reason that I won't, because you guys know me. If you've been watching my channel for any length of time, you know I will use that every single day. So there's no way I'm not going to hit the 50 use threshold on Seeking by the end of this next update. I'm still gonna debate rolling that one out. We'll see. Maybe I'll leave it in for another month, see where we get to. It probably depends on what I've accomplished in the next month. But yeah, there's nothing to roll out right now. So it is the same quintet going into February. I've been really enjoying this quintet. It's beautiful. The colors are really nice. I have been able to kind of change up my looks from day to day with these different shadows, and I've been very happy with them. I do have a lot of looks for you guys, or well, I don't know if it's a lot. It's a decent amount. It's way more than I've had in the recent months. But those will be at the end of the video if you'd like to see them, along with the overall updates for my palettes. I have really been enjoying using these palettes. They've been beautiful. I'm really excited to see where I can get with them, and I hope you guys are enjoying the project this year as well. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I really appreciate having you here, and I love seeing your comments. I am trying to do better about answering comments. I feel like I've got a good system in place for it, so leave any comments below. I will do my best to get back to them in a timely fashion if you have any questions or anything like that, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.